This episode of That's Not the Finish has been powered by Bodyslam.net.
You are listening to That's Not the Finish podcast, a no-holds-barred pro wrestling podcast perfect for getting your wrestling fix. Now get ready to call for the 3 count. 1, 2, 3. And try not to get DQ'd. Because here are your hosts.
We're back with another episode of the That's Not the Finish podcast. So today we're going to be talking about the newest internet sensation, Superhuman, and just what exactly it was that got Joey Janela following this amazing trend. And then we're also going to be discussing a little bit of some WWE news centered around Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman returning. And, of course, then we have a little bit of a discussion facing around Undertaker versus Goldberg, and should that match have really honestly happened? So let's start off with this, with the leader of the giggalos and the giggalettes here, Superhuman. So, Dom, what exactly, who exactly is Superhuman for those that do not know?
He's an idiot for the best way I can describe it.
Summarize.
He's stupid. Start next segment. I'm not holding back. He's an idiot. I don't know. He
definitely has balls, though.
I don't know who he is.
He's stupid, but he has balls.
I guess I don't know if you can even call him a YouTube star or like an internet star, but he makes these videos where he like does like an elbow drop or like a flip or some kind of like wrestling like move onto like all kinds of like objects like barbed wire or like glass or light bulbs and
the microwave.
Microwave. Yeah. Legos one time and all kinds of
himself into a garbage can one time. He just jumped into a garbage can.
He fell very horribly into a garbage can. It was.
Yeah. It kind of looked like he was dumpster diving. I'm not gonna lie.
Right, it was.
What's in here?
It looks like it would be, but
Ooh.
Anyway. I said I'm not holding back here, but so yeah, he does all these kinds of shit, and he's just like hurting. Like I don't know how he's still. Honestly, I still have no clue how he's still alive with the shit that he's doing. But he's been doing this for like quite a few years now, actually, but he's like just starting to pick up like popularity and fame now, I guess, and he's becoming like a big name on the internet community and the wrestling community, and for the right reasons. I don't know about that, but
So you were actually mentioning before that he's actually becoming popular than some wrestlers are, and to me that's just like so outlandish overall.
Well, yeah, I mean. His name has been popping his name has been popping up everywhere recently. Like you see his name more than like some like indie guy that you would see like at a local promotion. Like
Joe Schmo the Bro.
Kind of sad that someone like that's actually working like their ass off to try and make their way into this business doesn't get like any notoriety, but this guy is just coming out and like doing stupid shit and he's already like making a name for himself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really just takes away from the people that worked hard to get to where they are. And it just kind of takes away that publicity that somebody else should be getting and putting it onto somebody that, is just, in a way, funny, entertaining in a sense. But what really kind of caught the spotlight here was, and really shocked me, because I kind of had a feeling that this was going to happen one day, but it happened a lot sooner than I thought it was going to happen, and that was when Joey Janela was in a match against Joey Ryan. And pretty much what happened was Joey Janela went up to the top rope, and right before he dropped an elbow drop onto Joey Ryan, he basically went, "Fuck this shit," which is the trademark of Superhuman. Right before he jumps onto anything, he goes, "Fuck this shit," and then boom, but Joey Janela actually did this, and it really shocked me because I had a feeling that one day one wrestler was going to do that on the indie scene, of course, because WWE wouldn't allow that.
Anyone did that.
But of course, it was going to happen one day on the indie scene. But this happened way sooner than I thought it was going to happen. I thought this was going to be years. But it basically just shows you that now Superhuman's blowing up.
Yeah.
Well, that's also anything. That's the thing with the internet now. Anything can just blow up immediately. So you never know when something's gonna catch on and when. But like I said, he's been around for years, so it's it's kind of weird that he's just kind of popping out now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has been around for a while. When I saw some of the videos that he's previously created. And I was actually really surprised at that because I never heard of this guy before. So it's really a matter of getting discovered, and he just got discovered at the specific time. And now that he got noticed by the right people, now all of a sudden he's starting to get pretty popular. This also kind of goes back a little bit, but before a couple of I guess about a month or two ago, I actually saw that Sabu actually tweeted out to him or retweeted one of his videos, and of course he was fanboying all over that, but pretty much even these hardcore legends were looking at him and giving him some sort of attention. Yeah. So Dave, what do you honestly think about Superhuman here and him potentially taking away viewership or recognition from indie wrestlers?
Yeah, I think he's just doing it for views at this point. I mean, he could be a wrestling fan, for all we know, just doing it for his own abilities. But I mean, he is gaining traction and getting trending. So I mean, I've only seen a handful of his videos where he opens the barbed wire and goes microwave. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying he's trying to take a spotlight with wrestlers, but wrestlers are willing to pay homage to him, then it's a compliment.
Yeah, and he actually said himself. He actually did say on a Facebook post that he has actually been a fan of hardcore wrestling. I guess also WWE, but more specifically ECW. And he's actually looked up to some of these guys. So he's not just a fanboy or something. I mean, he's not just a guy that pretends in a sense. I mean, he's probably a fanboy for these wrestlers, but he definitely knows these wrestlers, and he definitely knows what they do, such as Sabu, for example, Joey Janela, and he definitely has some sort of admiration for them. So, I mean, personally, I don't think that he intends to take away viewership, but then again, I mean, it's the law of social media in the end.
Yeah.
And it's basically if you want fame, you're gonna do whatever you can to get it, and pretty much
I guess
he's doing this, and it's working for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's my major concern with this. I guess one is if one of the comments that I saw was actually that some thought that I had he's trying to get famous on the internet. We don't know what his intentions are, but if there's a wrestling show that books him for a match, there's potential for something to go horribly wrong there that could hurt him or another wrestler, with him having no training going into a match or just doing something at a wrestling show.
I honestly do think that's going to happen one day, though. One day he is totally going to be booked into a wrestling show. You're just going to see him.
And then it just puts bad publicity out for the company that books him and wrestling in general. If and when he gets hurt.
Yeah, he could just do it as a spot gimmick where he just comes in and dives on something and pops the crowd,
Yeah.
I mean, if that were to happen, I'm just saying it. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but
Well, what's really interesting about this topic here is if you kind of go back during when WWF, when it was known as WWF, was at the height of its popularity back during back during the early mid 90s or so, there was actually this stigma around hardcore wrestling because kids were beating each other up in their backyards and made little makeshift rings and got steel chairs out and were like blading and stuff like that. And that's kind of where the stigma erupted from.
Yeah.
And
that's
it's kind of
another
like
potential issue.
Superhuman is kind of bringing this back a little bit here with potentially, it falling back onto the pro wrestlers and wrestling itself.
Yeah, I mean, if a bunch of little kids start seeing his videos and like, oh, I'm going to do that, and then they wind up like getting really hurt, then it's going to get traced back to him, and then they're going to try and blame it on professional wrestling, and it's going to cause a whole big thing. It's like, that has nothing to do with professional wrestling, but because of what he is, it's still going to get pointed onto professional wrestling, and then it's like unneeded attention wrestling communities don't need to be dealing with.
Totally. And like the wrestling community itself has faced a lot of stigma before, and even if something like this did blow back from Superhuman, and perhaps if it did catch some fire, then I honestly think that nothing's like really going to happen with wrestling itself. I think that WWE has toned it down so much that I don't think that literally at that point right there, like they're gonna have to have like a pillow fight match, and they actually did have a pillow fight match, but they're literally gonna be like replacing like steel chairs with pillows. And and I'm pretty sure they actually have done that. But what I'm basically trying to say is that they've literally gone so low that there's no more lower that they can go if something like this happened. But I think how this could actually potentially hurt is maybe the indies, because indies are basically like the like how people used to like wrestling, and and they're not afraid to experiment with stuff. I don't know if like this could potentially hurt the indies exactly. Potentially it could, but in a way, the indies don't give a fuck. I mean, I think in a way, they aren't, in a way, like because some of these places are much more smaller, they're in a way immune to certain criticisms here, because they're not like household names like WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really see it going anywhere, but I mean, again, there's always just the possibility of something happening.
I mean, in the times we live in now, you never know, man.
Exactly.
And the other point too is, say if somebody, like what you mentioned before, saw what he was doing and wound up hurting himself, then there's all this negative press surrounding it, and then everything kind of goes over again. The media blows up, but I think that professional wrestling has encountered this millions of times before, and I just don't think that it's going to really affect them as it has in the past, especially because they know how to handle stuff like this, and they mostly just know how to not let it get to them overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's Superhuman.
Yeah.
I'll be real with you. I do. I love his video. he's
See, that's the thing. Like,
he's funny.
As stupid as it is, the day that I found like his page, I just like kept scrolling and watching all of his videos. I'm like, this guy is an idiot, but I can't stop watching.
That's just it, though. I mean, that's why he's successfil.
I really have no clue like how he's still walking and moving around now.
And what he does, I mean, I know like we have difference of opinions on him, but I mean the one thing that we can all agree on, I think, is just he's entertaining as hell, and he's funny too. I mean, what he's doing and like the potential blowback that could have on pro wrestling, is a different story. But
I mean,
definitely he's funny though. Like, he's a great YouTuber.
If he hurts himself,
I'll give him
that. I'll just say it's Darwinism.
Darwinism.
I mean,
but it's funny though. It's like Darwinism in that case, but then it's also like Darwinism of YouTube and the internet, if you think about it too, because in a way Darwinism of the internet is, like these indie guys that bust their asses.
Yeah.
They could be working super hard to get their views, to get their name out there, and then one day I could walk around and like jump into a pool filled with barbed wire and like shred my body up, and then literally I'll get like 10,000 views and like 1 million subscribers in a day. And it basically is like like you grinded really hard and everything, but the public just for some reason liked my idea more and
see,
liked my crappy video more.
Like ideal to like have like. As an indie wrestler, you're going out there, you're busting your ass off at every show, doing like putting your all into every match, every like going out every night, putting on the best show that you possibly can, and like you're not getting anywhere. And this one guy just comes and jumps on a fucking thing of barbed wire, and he's getting people clamoring over him. It's like that's gotta hurt as someone that's like trying to break into the industry and like actually do things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Like they shouldn't have to resort to gimmicky shit to gain recognition.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, I definitely feel you on that. To be honest with you, I'm very interested in hearing the opinions of indie wrestlers on this topic too, and if they think that what he's doing, how they feel about what he does, if they're like really pissed off or not.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting.
It's a great question. It's a great question.
Alrighty, so when I was sitting in the office this morning, I heard the news that Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are coming back as WWE creative executives. So let me get this straight. Like, they're not GMs of Raw and SmackDown, or are they working more like they're working behind the scenes, or are they literally going to be like on the show?
It sounds like it's a behind-the-scenes role, I think. I don't know exactly how much creative decisions they have, but looks like they're more like the head of the creative talent and what goes on, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I initially thought, and then people were really talking.
What I'm reading, it's going to be an off TV work. It's just creative. They're going to be in charge of creative control. Heyman's still going to be involved on TV, only in this Lesnar storyline, stuff like that.
Also, Bischoff isn't going to be on
but
TV
Bischoff,
at all.
It said don't expect to see Bischoff on TV at all.
Okay, I see now. I mean, I thought that, obviously, I thought it was behind the scenes roles by how they put that into perspective, and that kind of made sense to me. But then when I was looking at comments and stuff on social media, people were acting like they were literally coming back as like the GMs.
No, it's not going to.
So they're not, because I got excited over nothing. But no, I think.
But we don't need them to be the GM. That's the good thing. Like, we don't actually have to have them be on TV to notice the difference in what's going on.
And you know what else too is that this is in a way even better if you think about it, because people have been complaining about how the product has been lately and how they really needed. Like some people wanted it to be kind of how it was back when we were younger, and people wanted to actually bring back some of the, some of the guys that were around when people liked wrestling more, or I guess like when the WWE product. No, I'm talking about the WWE product here. When the WWE product was better in a sense, and it seems that by bringing back by having Heyman have actually that control over the pen, and alongside Bischoff, two guys that were around during the height of WWE's popularity. And, of course, Bischoff, who was, also in charge of WCW and has a lot of experience down his, under his belt. Definitely, like, this could mean some pretty big stuff for the product itself and potentially enhance it by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Heyman, his track record. This guy, he's been, GM for 3 years. The guy is known to have a voice, and I'm hoping that Heyman and Bischoff can lend a voice towards Vince and kind of give them a little more creative control and making these shows much better, because the product right now is not very good. So
I have literally actually fallen asleep a couple of times, and the sad part is there was that little war going on, like how it normally does, between Raw and SmackDown. Mm-hmm. And for a while there, I actually thought that SmackDown was the better brand in relation to Raw. And in a way, not saying that like Raw is any better at all right now, but I definitely have noticed that SmackDown has just declined a lot. Yeah. Literally, it just feels like Monday and Tuesdays are just reruns of what happened the following week. And it's getting into that zone again where there's nothing interesting is happening. And the storylines just seem so dry. And honestly, now I can understand why so many people are like jumping over to, and getting hyped up for AEW. AEW's first match, which was basically, first event, which was basically a pay-per-view match. The storylines there were, like to kick stuff off, were so much better than anything that WWE has been pushing alongside the last couple of years. Like, and the one that really got me was with Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes, and basically when Cody said, like, I need my younger brother, and they hugged it out after they just went to war with each other. That was like, that match alone, like, if there's one match that has been like reciting in my head for the longest time, it was that one.
Yeah.
Now WWE just doesn't have that same effect anymore, and it's definitely something that I think Heyman and Heyman and Bischoff would definitely be able to try to bring back, or at least start reviving.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of changes happen and how it takes place. I mean, the main thing, like, we need to find out is how much control they're going to have and how much Vince is going to let them do. Like, if they have full creative control, we're definitely going to see like a complete 180 turnaround in the direction things are going, and we're going to have an amazing product. But if Vince is like still itching, like sticking his nose in there and like not let them do what they want to do, it's going to be like, oh, here's a great match, and then you have like a shitty, stupid, like promo right after that. So
guys, just do this. It's such good shit. That's basically what Vince is doing.
But,
hey, Vince.
And it's also going to see, like, it's going to see how much, like, Bischoff and Heyman are going to clash with Vince as well. We know that, like, both men have issues with clashing with him creatively. So, like, this could only last, like, a few, like, we don't know how long it's actually going to last before, like, things escalate too heavily, and like it has to split up, because we all know Vince has a hot temper. Heyman and Bischoff are kind of very opinionated, so if they don't get what they like, the things that they want to do, it's just not going to work out.
I mean, in that respect that you just put it, do you think Bischoff and Vince are going to have some fallouts along the way?
I mean, I think it's gonna happen. How big or how soon is it like, I don't know. I'm hopeful that they're gonna be able to work things out, but it's Vince, so that's
such good shit, guys.
Yeah, it's his call at the end of the day. So I don't know. I mean,
it's definitely going to be interesting to see what's going to transpire from this.
It's also
with them in their new positions.
We have the Fox switch coming, the SmackDown switching over to Fox, so they're going to be pushing their product hard then. So, like, we should see a lot of switches there. Then AEW is coming in October, so like this is kind of the perfect time for this, like, brand, like, I guess call it a brand switch that we need to shape things up and put things back into the proper perspective.
In a sense. Yeah, I mean, and if I could use this as a way to basically jump into our next topic here, why the fuck did Taker versus Goldberg even happen? And if I could actually throw a little curveball at you, do you think Bischoff and Heyman would have let that match happen?
Nope.
No, they would not.
Nope. I think it's 15 years too late. My opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that.
Sorry.
I just think that it's like what you said before. It was 15 years too late, and it just Goldberg like collapsed after that. So you're not like even thinking about the health, the well-being of your wrestlers. I don't even know why they agreed to it, because I thought that Goldberg and Taker actually ditched ties with WWE. So I was actually surprised first I was surprised that Taker actually came back, to do this match, let alone go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, here's the thing though. We can't blame it on age because, like, I mean, it is a factor, but it's not a huge like look. I'll use this example: Goldust. Goldust, I think he's what, like a couple years younger than Goldberg, or even he might even.
Yeah, he's. Let's see.
Like around the same age.
He's around the same age, but look at his match with Cody Rhodes that he just had.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Goldust was busted open and bleeding, like almost like bleeding out the whole match, but he carried on and he was still competing, and he held like he didn't seem like he was gonna like collapse, or it didn't seem like he was gonna like have any issues. Like, he was still able to carry the match.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, I guess.
It's a matter of training. I mean,
Yeah,
because
Goldust has still been training. He's been on, like, he hasn't really had too many matches, but he's still been competing at live shows and stuff throughout the year for WWE.
Yeah, he's looked great too.
Yeah.
You want to actually know what else I think it is? You know, what it potentially could also be. I think it could also be the mental, like basically like just their mental toughness. Basically, like what they're trying to do. Like, you know, for example, Undertaker. You know, he's had his prime. He's gone, you know, on like the biggest winning streak, you know, in WrestleMania. He's been given so much through the company that now at his, you know, at this, you know, he's like this around the same age as Goldust or Dustin Rhodes, and he's basically done it all. He's like a household name. He's super famous. Now, when Dustin was Goldust, and, you know, he's around the same age as Taker, he was you know, he was popular, you know, don't get me wrong, he was popular, but it was almost as if he was popular amongst the people that really watched wrestling. Now, like, if you went up to some guy and was just like, you know, who hasn't watched WWE for like the longest time, and if you were just like bullshitting with him, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, Undertaker, yeah," but if you said like Goldust, he might be like, "Oh, who the hell is that?" You know. But the thing is that, you know, Dustin, when he, you know, he's been held back from creative in the WWE for like the longest time, that now he's had this opportunity to really do, in a sense, what Cody did with himself, and really like kind of remake his image. And not just that, but now he has the backing of his own brother who has done that. So that's why when at Double or Nothing, when you saw him versus Cody, they just went all out because he had something to prove, in a sense. Taker didn't have anything to prove.
Also, another one of the major issues is chemistry. Like, Goldberg and Undertaker have never had a match. They've never worked they've never worked in the same company. They don't, like, they're probably, I'm sure they're not like best friends, they're not friends, whatever. So, like, getting into the ring together for the first time, I'm pretty sure they didn't really have too much like practice going into that match, or like I'm sure like they met up maybe the day of or like the week of just to go over the match. There wasn't too much to give them a chance to get their stuff together. And like when your guys working at that age and working at that something like that, you really need to make sure you have everything down before you go into it. And like, I think it was just a lack of preparedness from them going in.
Yeah, I was surprised it went more than 5 minutes, honestly, because when Goldberg hit that spear initially, I was like, oh shit, it's gonna be really good then. Then the match kind of slowed down a little bit, and I'm sure Goldberg wasn't prepared for the when he busted his head open the turnbuckle, but definitely slowed the pace of the match down, and it kind of, you know, lost the finish, I guess. Yeah,
he got a concussion at that point, from what I heard.
Yeah.
So like, at that point, you're pretty much screwed. Just the fact that like they even continued at that point didn't make any sense. Like, now they're really putting their own well-beings at risk.
Yeah, they would have to call someone on the fly there. I mean, that's a tough spot, but still, it's like, you know,
it sucks. I mean, it's for like a match like that, you really don't want to end it like that. But I mean, at that point, you'd rather have the safety of them over like making history.
Yeah, I agree.
And then.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, the safety of the performers.
Do we really like
first.
Same thing with like Sting and Triple H? Like, when we got Sting versus Triple H, was that really something that we needed?
The time, maybe no.
It was like the most I mean, like, I could maybe kind of see why they did that in the beginning, where it was kind of just, okay, let's do Sting versus Triple H, and then just have.
But I mean,
to have him get inducted into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, it was very strange.
Why bother? Like, he hasn't been with that. Sting was never with WWE for the height of his career. Oh, we can finally get him now that he's old and like has one match left in him. Like, it's not worth it at that point. It's just.
And he lost, by the way. So just saying.
Yeah,
he lost twice, and then he lost to Seth Rollins, which was like really okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean, I do think that was a little bit strange. They just basically used it to, build up, to build up Sting a little bit for him to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's really all that I think that they used that for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice on pen and paper, Goldberg versus Undertaker, but sometimes things are just kind of better left to the imagination.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh yeah, there's like tons of matches like that too.
Oh yeah.
There's tons of matches where it was like a fantasy thing, and it never happened. But that's and I think if anything, if Taker versus Goldberg has proved one thing, it's that certain things are best left not to be known after a certain time period, because if when you just have two people that just are past their prime, and if it's just not the right circumstances, it's better to just wonder what could have been than just see like a disaster and then have it all ruined for yourself.
I think it's that Saudi money right there, man. The money talks.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, they literally brought back Orton versus Triple H for no reason at all. It was just like, do you remember this match from 2009? Well, we're doing this again, this time in Saudi Arabia. Happy Pride Month.
Yeah. Now we have Undertaker coming back, though, for a match at Extreme Rules.
He wasn't even at WrestleMania. It's so weird. Like, why?
Yeah. To me,
why?
Here's my theory. I think you can see it in his face at the end of the Goldberg match when he sits up. He's just disappointed.
He was pissed.
Like, you can look at the look of disappointment in his face. I think he asked for a match to prove like that match was just like an abomination. Like, that match shouldn't have happened like that. Like, I think he wants to prove to the fans and everyone that he still has like it in him, and he doesn't want to go out like with that being his last match.
Yeah.
If that is
even
going to be his last match.
This next one probably won't even be his last match.
No, this probably won't be his last match. But I think on his conscience, he can't have his career end with that match, and he needs to get something in there to clean that off of his record. As like, if say this like something were to happen, and he's not able to compete anymore, he does not want Goldberg to be his last match listed.
Yeah, that's a good point. He just doesn't want to be known as the guy that had like a shitty last match. So okay, totally understand that. All right,
but that's just theory too. Like, we don't know like the actual.
Yep, we may never know the truth.
We don't work backstage, so
I am hoping like he is like actually training harder and like making sure he is much better shape to do this match though. I mean, I do think he has a lot of potential to still put on a great match.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just hoping that he's actually able to show it off this time.
I mean, he looked pretty good on Raw. He was throwing some pretty quick strikes there. I mean, for a moment, but
he basically had a pretty good. He had a pretty good flow for about whatever it was, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, definitely, I think that. I mean, probably you can't get through to Vince, but this definitely shows a lot of people that there's certain things that are just best left as a mystery in a sense, or just up to your imagination. And this is one prime example.
Yep.
Alrighty, so that will be a wrap for us, and we will catch you next time on the next episode of That's Not the Finish.
That's not the finish.
The finish.